You're welcome. I usually charge $2 to $3 million each for these.
Riding a time trial is something of an art form, and so happily we have found something of an artiste when it comes to the discipline. This is Taylor Phinney from the Candale Drapac team. And Taylor, you're going to give us some of your top time trialing tips and bike setup tips as well, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, number one then, hit us with it. What would be your golden rule for time trialing, for time trial bikes?
I see a lot of people want to go really low on the front end because you kind of think the lower, the better, the more aerodynamic. But what that does is it ends up forcing your head up and you can't really see anything. So you kind of open up this parachute up in the front. If you bring up the top, you can then kind of tuck in a little bit more and close off the surface area of the front end.
So how high at the front do you have to go? I mean, obviously it's going to depend on rider to rider, but...
I mean, it's basically like if you are in the position and you feel like you can comfortably kind of tuck in and sit in a place where you see maybe 3 inches above your hands, that's like kind of my golden rule.
When you're racing and you got an earpiece in, will your DS behind be like, Taylor, look up?
I don't race for the radio.
Do you not?
That maybe would be my second tip.
Second tip there, no radio. Why not?
I just find that I have a lot of voices in my head already, and inserting somebody else's voice, who I may or may not want to hear when I'm in like the depths of the pain cave, just doesn't really do much for me.
Now, this might be a personal question, but what are the inner voices telling you? Like, is it like a balance between go faster or this is hurting, or is it like depending on how good you're feeling on the bike, it might be all good? Is that just too much insight?
No, I mean, I think it's your classical balance of like, you got this, to like, you should retire today. This is what time trialing, this is the bread and butter of time trialing, is pushing yourself to the point of
retiring.
Maybe considering retirement, but then at the same time, you kind of have to get to that point to be able to win any of these bike races. So,
what about looking at numbers?
I don't look at numbers either.
Serious?
Speed and distance.
So no power on there?
Nah, I find that if I focus too much on the power, then I kind of lose track of the road and what the road is doing. You know, time trialing, cycling, in essence, is about speed, obviously. You know, whether it's like accelerating over the top of a little hill to make sure you get up to speed fast enough, or kind of tapering off like through the middle or at the bottom of a hill. But it's all about speed.
Yeah.
And it's all about getting up to your maximum speed, taking a little bit of a breather, and then holding that.
If you're not if I use your words, a flatline kind of a dude, does that mean your training for time trials then reflects that you're not going to be just sat at threshold for, 20, 30 minutes at a time? You actually do quite a lot of intervals within that? Or is...
Yeah, well, I train based on perceived exertion. So I used to do all the watt stuff, but it just drove me crazy and it didn't feel like I was having any fun. It was like every day was a performance, like, okay, do this for 8 minutes, this. Either you do it or you don't. But I didn't get any like satisfaction out of that. I didn't feel like I was feeling my body through the process. I didn't feel like I was learning anything about the craft of time trialing. So now I go out and I pretend like it is a bit of a race, but I adapt more to the terrain, and I think like, okay, am I doing a race pace effort right now? Am I doing below race pace effort? Am I doing this threshold thing?
Yeah, so I guess a top tip then would be don't be a slave to the numbers. What your body is telling you is more important.
Yeah, be a slave to speed if anything else, because that's the only thing that matters.
That sounds cooler too, doesn't it? Be a slave to speed,
yeah,
not to numbers. What about gearing then? Are you fussy about the kind of size of chain rings? I know some guys like to use a 58, whether they can turn it or not, I don't know, but are you particular about what you've got on there?
Yeah, not really. Coming from the track, I mean, I tend to spin, so I don't feel like I need a 58 or some sort of Tony Martin like massive gear. I don't do well at that sort of high level of torque. I need to kind of feel like I'm riding over the top of the wave of the pedal stroke instead of just forcing the wave to make itself. I think I got a 55, 56 on there, which might sound large, but you have to remember that I race against
Tony Martin.
a group of cyborgs, so.
So would you say then that there's very much an individualistic element to time trials? So what works for you might not necessarily work for Tony Martin and vice versa. So anyone watching this should probably spend a bit of time, you know, thinking about what works for them. Would that be a fair shout?
Yeah, I mean, it's in the title, individual time trial. So you gotta take this thing, you gotta go ride it. You gotta figure out why you like it. I actually prefer, other than the discomfort of sitting on a time trial saddle for a really long time, I prefer the position of a time trial bike because it feels more like a flying instead of sitting on this thing and pedaling.
I've never thought of it like that. I just think of them as torture, but yeah, fair enough.
No, because you're like down and you're just kind of resting. You're sort of in this weird prone resting position, but you're jettisoning yourself along.
That's cool. I think that would help me time trial, actually, thinking that I was flying.
Find comfort in this thing. A lot of people think they have to like make it uncomfortable and make it as fast as they can, or like make it whatever. But if you find comfort, then you can work from there. That's the foundation that you need.
Cool. Sounds pretty zen, that.
Yeah, I'm a zen ass dude, so.
Cool, Taylor, thank you very much. That is some cracking tips there for any budding time trialists, and plenty there to go on if you've been time trialing your whole life, I suspect. Do make sure that you subscribe to GCN. To do that, just click on the globe. And if you want some more content, then why not click just down there for a time trial course preview of stage 1 of the tour. You definitely want to make sure you watch that one, Taylor, give you some great tips there. Or click just down there for a Tour de France Pro bike. Thanks, man. Cheers.
Yeah, thanks, dude.